Okay, so you mentioned Mehdi Hasan. So you recently had a dust up with him. A part of it, this was kind of the end of it. We can win if the anti-war majority vote for an anti-war candidate. If you think it's the media's job to prevent that from happening, just be honest about that. While we're being honest, can you explain how voting for a candidate who's committing genocide will stop the genocide? Now, he responded to you, I'll answer your question when you answer mine. For the third time, how does voting for you at 2% in the polls, with your own proxies admitting you can't win, stop the genocide? Walk me through how the genocide stops once someone votes for you in the polling booth in November. So what would your response to that be?
I'm sorry, Mehdi Hasan, if you don't understand how grassroots politics works. Listen to Frederick Douglass, who said, power concedes nothing without a demand. Never has, never will. If we're not making that demand, you can be sure that the ceasefire and the end of the genocide is not going to happen. Okay? So as a baseline, we have to be heard demanding that it stop and that there be consequences for committing that genocide. That is where grassroots democracy begins. And if you don't begin there, forget the rest. I don't think Mehdi Hasan exactly understands grassroots politics. You know, he's been a talking head for the DNC on MSNBC, and I think that's kind of the extent of his political understanding. I've tried explaining this to him, you know, on his show where he just promptly cut me off. He's not really capable of having, yeah, that's what he does. He is not a journalist. He is really a talking head and an attack dog for the DNC. Still, in spite of having been fired by their mouthpiece, I think he continues to audition for another job in that capacity. It's unfortunate. And I think he's really getting his just desserts from his constituency, because once the whole interview went up, not just the clips that he wanted to share, once the whole interview went up, which went up quite quietly, and people began to discover it, he's being absolutely raked over the coals, and many people are resigning, you know, from his subscription, you know, which they had, you know, supported in good faith. But he has absolutely proven that he does not deserve support. He is not a good faith journalist. He is an attack dog, like, you know, so many that he criticizes.
Well, this is what's really frustrating about him. And, you know, Russ mentioned some other, you know, progressive sort of podcaster types in this space. You know, when you have a space of people who now all of a sudden are prioritizing the Palestinian people for the first time ever, because part of how this got to this place is because this issue has been so overlooked for so long. And to me, it's just offensive to see, okay, after a year of genocide where you finally take a step outside of the duopoly, okay, we are going to organize for something better. As Russ said earlier, Tim Walz comes around with his free marijuana and his free school lunch. Oh, we'll take that. And then they come at you with, well, Trump will be worse. What's life under Trump? What's life under Netanyahu for the people in Gaza right now? If they can live under Benjamin Netanyahu, you can live under Trump. Right? I mean, that's the way I feel about it. Like the reversion to lesser evilism in this context doesn't even hold.
It really doesn't. I mean, because who's more at risk? Whether it's Harris or Trump, you know, it's Muslim Americans, you know, who are most at risk here. You know, when people talk about the consequences of Trump, you know, and all the, you know, all the fears that are circulating about him right now, which he's certainly trying to amp up, you know, those all converge on Muslim Americans. And it's them who's saying, you know, that we've got to stand up here and, you know, preserve human rights, because what happens in Gaza doesn't stay in Gaza. This is about, you know, the systematic torture and murder of children on an industrial scale. This is about the destruction of human rights and the destruction of international law. We ourselves are at peril here right now, because we are not going to be top dog forever. In fact, we're not top dog right now. And China and, you know, the global South is more powerful financially. And, you know, you put China and Russia together, They got more nukes than we do, for one thing. So we don't want to be nuking this out with each other. We need to be elevating international law right now and diplomacy as a means of settling our disputes. And we're in the process right now of dismantling that whole body of international law. So even if your interest is strictly confined to our own self-interest as Americans, this is unbelievably dangerous. But, for those who are kind of doing a 180 here, and who are not standing up with the courage of their convictions, I don't want to be too critical at the moment, because I think there is a significant chance that there are going to be developments that will flip them back. And, I think it's really important to have honest dialogue about this. And all the reasons that prompted those initial endorsements have not gone away. And, I think it's really important for people to just continue that dialogue and for us to keep the heat on about why people just absolutely cannot endorse this genocide.
Please clap.